Hey everyone, it's Safa and I'm back with a porcelain doll inspired look. I just watched the new Wizard of Oz movie and decided to make this look. If you want to see how I made this, keep watching. Thanks guys! So this is a white cream base makeup. I'm using a latex sponge and applying it all over my face. You can use whatever product you want. This one is Ben Nye Clown White. I get better results when I apply the product thinly and do a couple more layers and then pat out the product with the sponge. My brows are rather on the sparse side, so I'm just taking a bit of that product and covering the brow area. Again, use the sponge to lightly pat out the product to blend it evenly. And this is Clown White by Ben Nye. I'm going to use a translucent powder, this is Prep and Prime by MAC, to set the makeup, just so it doesn't feel sticky on the face. You can use a powder puff to set the product, but I'm just using the reverse side of the sponge that I used previously. Use thin layers to build everything up, that way you don't get the blotchy look. Next, I am taking a pink powder blush with a slightly more red hue to it and applying that to my cheeks. Just lightly apply it on the cheeks and then slightly across the nose. If you've applied a little bit too much product, that's okay because you can always blend out the product with the remaining white on the latex sponge or powder puff. Next, I am using two lip liner pencils. One is hot pink and the other is a more neutral pink. So I'm just gonna fill in my lips entirely and color it in with the hot pink lip liner, and then I'm going to go over that with the more neutral pink color. You can use a matte lipstick if you like, but I just wanted to minimize the amount of products that I'm using, and I wanted to keep that neutral, not so shiny matte look. Next, I am using a black cosmetic grade acrylic paint. This one is Black Black by MAC, and I'm also using a small crafting brush. I'm painting rather thin, roundly arched brows. Try to paint the brows in as little amount of strokes as possible, that way they don't look hairy. And make sure you also wipe off the excess paint from the brush so you don't get globs of paint. That way you get a nice taper as far as the front and back of the eyebrow. Next, I'm going to need an ultramarine blue. I'm going to use Atlantic Blue eyeshadow by MAC. You can use any brand. And then I'm using a tapered blending brush to create a rounded arch in my crease area. You want to start with a clean brush. Mine is a little bit dirty, but I just built up the intensity of the blue by doing several layers. And I'm not going to worry too much about blending out the edge of the eyeshadow. Going back to the black acrylic paint, you're going to paint in the eyelid crease, just under the blue. While watching the new Wizard of Oz movie, that was one of the features I kept focusing on, the eyelid crease. Anyways, do the same thing on the other eye and try to use the least amount of strokes. If you need to, paint it as slowly as possible and you won't have jittery lines. And I'm just kind of keeping my eyes half shut so that the paint doesn't smear on my eyelids. Here's a close-up of what it looks like. Don't worry about any mistakes, you can always fix them up later. And next I'm going to mix a little bit of the black and white acrylic paint together. I'm using an empty eyeshadow case and accident about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's okay. So what I'm gonna do with the excess white, because I don't want to waste, I'm just putting that over the white base and I'm gonna blend it out and set it with the same powder. Okay, and now back to the plan. I'm mixing the black and white together to make a light gray, maybe a medium gray, and I'm going to paint the cracks on my face. To figure out what the cracks looked like, I blended a little bit of cross contour drawing with a little bit of anatomical structural drawing. So I'm following the contours of my face and blending it with a little bit of design as far as what the cracks are going to look like. So a little bit of randomness and irregularity is okay. I'm sure you could paint the cracks on your face however you want, but by using cross contour and structural slash anatomical drawing, I feel like you'll maintain the volume of your face. Whereas if you were to paint the cracks randomly on your face, it may actually flatten out your features and it won't really look like the cracks are real. Anyways, you can play with the weight of the line if you want to make the cracks look thicker, thinner in some areas. You can even go back with a little bit of the black acrylic paint to create a deeper crack versus a really thin gray line, which would look more like a hairline crack on the doll. I know you can't see the details too well. I am going to get a new camera soon to get better quality. I apologize for the bad quality, but you know, gotta make do with what I have. Oh yes, and as far as cleanup for all of this makeup, make sure you clean your brushes right away because the acrylic paint will dry on your brushes and then they will become hard like sticks. So the way I clean it is I use a little bit of dishwashing detergent and warm water, and then I just kind of wash the brushes several times, squeegee out all the water, and air dry the brushes flat. Do not stand them up. That's just a bad thing to do in general because the water will drip down the ferrule of the paintbrush and that may loosen up the brush hairs or whatever's. So make sure you lay your brushes flat. That goes with makeup brushes as well. You don't want to let your makeup brushes dry standing up. You want to lay them flat. And as far as the product on my face, I just use a makeup wipe, several of them, maybe like 3. And then if you want, you can use a makeup remover and wash your face. Make sure you wash everything out because any residue left over on your face is probably not good for you. So make sure you clean everything. If you did use a powder puff to set the white base and you want to still use that powder puff, you can actually wash it out with a little bit of mild shampoo, or if you want, dishwashing detergent and warm water. Just make sure when you dry it, you kind of fluff it back up so it doesn't look ratty after. This is a close-up of what I have so far. Again, I'm really sorry about the horrible quality, but you can kind of see all of the cracks. I just continued it down my neck, and then eventually I added more of the white base on my chest and more lines. If you want, you can go back in with the black acrylic paint and touch up your eyebrows. The brows were looking a bit on the gray side, so I wanted to make sure that they were nice and crisp. There was kind of a lot of product at that initial stroke, so I'm just blending everything out to taper the end of the eyebrow. And then I'm doing the same thing on the other side, trying to create it as symmetrical as possible, although if it's a little bit different, that's okay. Using a white pencil eyeliner, I am filling in my waterline on both eyes. If you want a tight line, you can do that too. I just did the bottom. And then I'm going to take the same pencil eyeliner and color in the top eyelid, just so that the black line looks super crisp. Next, I am taking a loose pigment. This is called If It Sparkles by MAC. I think it is a limited edition product, but anyways, I'm using, it's a white, pink, pearlescent type of color, and using a fan brush, I am highlighting my face. You want to make sure you don't press too hard because then you might smear or erase some of the gray crack lines that you worked so hard to make. And I'm using a fan brush because I just wanted a light dusting of the product. I didn't want it to go on too heavily. Next, I'm going to pull some false eyelashes from my lash farm. That's just a container that's holding all of my fake lashes. So I'm using a bunch of individual lashes on my bottom lash line. I prefer the feel of individual lashes on the bottom lash line because I don't like the lash band on my bottom part of the eye. It just feels kind of funny. So I like to use a bunch of individual lashes, and that's what it looks like at the moment with all of the lashes. So I use dual and some tweezers. So curl your hair, like make it doll-like and curly. And then I'm going back in with a really thick pair of lashes for my upper eyelashes. When using heavier eyelashes or thicker eyelashes, you want to make sure you use a good amount of lash glue. So sometimes I do one round of glue and then another, and then let that dry for about 30 seconds. You want to make sure it's tacky before you apply the false lashes. If not, they're just going to slide around and make an ugly mess on top of your eyelids. If you're doing this on someone else, you probably don't want to blow on them just because you don't want to contaminate the lash glue with your germs. So you can just fan them around in your hands or in the air if you're using this on somebody else. I like to apply the false lashes with two hands. These are red cherry eyelashes. The design number is F001. They are very similar to MAC number 42 lashes, which I think are discontinued. I could be wrong. This is the final look. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe and follow on Instagram. Username is the same, it's the pho. And my Tumblr as well. Thanks guys. See you again. Bye. Oh, and if you were wondering, I just chopped my hair. I cut about 21 inches off and donated that to Locks of Love. And I colored my hair a little bit. It's a little bit on the red side, but I might change it. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks. Bye.